What's up guys, it's Smitty back with another YouTube video. Today we're going to analyze Kevin Durant's career so far, and where I think he will land as an all-time great. Before we get into this video, it would be awesome if you can check to see if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. It's completely free, takes about 2 seconds to do, and it really makes my channel grow. Also, if you enjoyed this video, consider liking it. It'll recommend this video to even more people. So if you'd like to help me out, make sure to smash the subscribe and the like button. Thanks guys, I really appreciate the support. Enjoy y'all. Kevin Durant. Love him or hate him, you have to acknowledge the facts. He's been on a tear since day one, and my goodness is he talented. Kevin Durant has had an odd run throughout his career. He played with many other all-time greats at different times, but couldn't seem to win until he joined his enemy. Many people attribute this to Kevin Durant's inability to lead a team, but frankly, that's false. We all know that Durant made a very weak move joining the 73-win Golden State Warriors, but is it really as black and white as it seems? Not really. But first, let's dive into Kevin Durant's entire career so far, and then compare him to the other all-time greats. Durant was drafted by the Seattle Supersonics in 2007 at 2nd overall, behind the infamous bust, Greg Oden.
With the 2nd pick in the 2007 NBA Draft, the Seattle Supersonics select Kevin Durant from the University of Texas.
The Sonics were transferred over to Oklahoma City, where they became the Thunder. In 2008, the Sonics drafted Russell Westbrook 4th overall, and in 2009, the newly named Thunder drafted James Harden 3rd overall. Everything before 2010 doesn't matter too much for Kevin Durant. In 2008, he won Rookie of the Year, and his team had the worst record in the West. In 2009, the Sonics were still very bad and were one of the worst teams in the league. But little did they know, they had goldmine talent on their team. In Durant's 07-08 rookie season, he averaged 20.3 points per game, which is very impressive for a rookie. The next season, Durant took a huge jump to 25.3 points per game on 42.2% from 3. At this point, it was clear that Durant was the chosen one in his draft class. So 2010 was the first glimpse of the playoffs for the young talented Thunder. In the regular season, Durant averaged 30.1 points per game and 7.6 rebounds. His teammate, Russell Westbrook, averaged 16.1 points per game, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds, showing glimpses of his triple-double filled future. This season, the Thunder acquired Serge Ibaka, the glue man for the team, and James Harden had a decent rookie season, taking the very few minutes he played into retrospect. The Thunder were the 8th seed in 2010 and had to face the NBA champions that season, the Los Angeles Lakers. The Thunder put up a very good fight, taking the future champs to 6 games. This was promising considering the Lakers swept the Spurs in the second round, showing that the Thunder were much more than an 8th seed and had great potential. In Durant's first playoff game, he led in points with 24 despite losing. This would become a common trend throughout his career. Westbrook also had 23 points, but somehow the Thunder still lost. The Lakers outclassed the Thunder in this series with their depth and experience. In Game 2, Kobe had to drop 39 points to narrowly defeat the Thunder by 3 points. Durant had 32 points that game, and nobody else on his team played great. Durant was able to will the Thunder back into the game whenever they got down. Not to mention, the first 2 games of the series were in Los Angeles, and I believe that if the Thunder had home court advantage this series, the outcome could have been different. In Game 3, Durant and Westbrook went off, Durant with 29 and Westbrook with 27. This was able to get the Thunder's first playoff win. In Game 3, the Thunder blew out the Lakers by 21 points. Durant led the game in scoring with 22. Game 5, the Thunder lost badly, and Durant had his first playoff game with under 20 points. He had 17, and if Gasol didn't get his 25 points, the Thunder might have been able to make it close. Game 6 was extremely close. The Thunder lost by 1 point, despite putting up a heroic effort. Pau Gasol had an offensive rebound and put it in with 0.5 seconds left, a devastating loss for the Thunder. Durant had 26 points, but the Thunder still couldn't get it done. In his third NBA season, Durant led the series in scoring with 25 points per game, even more than Kobe Bryant. Durant was probably the most valuable player in the series. There wasn't a game where Durant didn't lead the Thunder. The Thunder took the eventual champions to 6 games and could have easily won the series if they had a few bounces in their way. This far into his career, Durant is definitely living up to expectations of an all-time great. In the 2010-11 regular season, Durant led the Thunder to 55 wins and the 7th best record in the league, 4th in the Western Conference. In the first round of the playoffs, the Thunder faced the 5 seed Denver Nuggets. In only Durant's 4th NBA season and 2nd playoff series, he averaged 32.4 points per game. The Thunder almost swept the Nuggets, but barely lost in Game 4. In the second round, the Thunder faced the 8 seed Grizzlies, who just defeated the number 1 seed Spurs. This was Durant's first 7-game playoff series, and he didn't shy away from the spotlight. He averaged 26.4 points per game on very solid efficiency. Game 1, the Thunder lost to Zach Randolph's 34 points. I totally forgot how good this guy was in 2011. Durant had 33 of his own, but couldn't quite get the job done. Game 2 went to the Thunder, and Durant led the way with 26 points. Game 3, the Thunder narrowly lost. Westbrook and Durant had 23 and 22 points respectively, but the Grizzlies took it to them. In Game 4, the Thunder absolutely exploded. Westbrook had 40 and Durant 35. Harden had 19 off the bench, and the Grizzlies couldn't keep up. The Thunder took Game 5, and Durant led the way with only 19 points. Somehow he still outscored everyone. Game 6 the Grizzlies took, to tie the series at 3 apiece. This was the first playoff game that Durant looked pedestrian. He only had 11 points. It wasn't looking good for the Thunder going into Game 7. Durant must have been saving his energy because he absolutely went off in his first Game 7 of his career. Durant had 39 points with 52% from the field and 45% from 3. Durant more than doubled everyone else in points that game. The next highest scorer from both teams was Harden with 19 off the bench. The Thunder made it to the conference final against the eventual champions, Dallas Mavericks. Durant balled out, and he had nothing to blame for this series. Durant averaged 28 points per game, but Dirk Nowitzki's insane playoff run was just too much. This was the first playoff series of Durant's career where he didn't average the most points per game of both teams. Dirk simply was a robot, averaging 32.2 points per game. In Game 1, Dirk had 48 points, and even though Durant had 40, it still wasn't enough to stop Dirk. This game was basically Durant vs. Dirk. The Thunder took Game 2. Durant had 24, but unfortunately that was where the hope stopped. Game 3, the Thunder barely lost. Westbrook had 30 and Durant 24. I rewatched this game, and I still don't know how the Thunder lost. Up front, Durant and Westbrook are unbelievable, but the Thunder's depth in 2011 was abysmal. Game 4, Dirk exploded for another 40 points. Even though Durant had 29 and 15 rebounds, it still wasn't enough. In Game 5, the Mavs simply had more depth than the Thunder. This series really exposed the Thunder's lack of producers other than Durant and Westbrook. The Mavs ended up beating the Heat in 6 games to win the NBA Finals. In 2012, the Thunder were back for revenge. The Thunder were on 58-win pace and snagged the 2nd seed in the West. The Thunder went up against the Mavs in the first round and royally swept them. Durant averaged 26.5 points per game, and the Thunder stomped the reigning champs. In Game 2, Durant had 26 and 10. Game 3, he had 31, and in Game 4, Durant closed the series with 24 and 11, putting the team on his back. In the second round, the Thunder almost swept the 3rd-seeded Lakers. Durant averaged 26.8 points per game and led the Thunder past Kobe and the Lakers. Kobe put up a valiant effort, but the Thunder's Big Four put them to sleep. Kevin Durant continued to do Kevin Durant things, Westbrook popped off here and there, Ibaka grabbed the rebounds, and Harden produced off the bench. The Thunder then faced off against the one-seeded Spurs, who hadn't lost a game in the postseason yet. Durant went off, averaging 29.5 points per game, and led everyone else in the series in points by 8. The Thunder narrowly lost Game 1, despite Durant having 27 and 10. The Thunder then lost Game 2, despite Durant having 31. Harden had 30 off the bench that game, and Westbrook 27. This just shows how much the Thunder lacked depth. Durant was even 3 for 4 from 3, but somehow the Spurs found a way to win. The Thunder were now down 2-0, and something sparked. The Thunder went on a 4-game winning streak. In Game 3, Durant led the way with 22 points in a very low-scoring game. In Game 4, Durant turned into a cyborg with 36 points on 65% from the field and 50% from 3. Game 5, Durant had a comfortable 27 points, and the Thunder went up in the series 3-2. In Game 6, Durant showed no mercy and dropped 34 points and 14 rebounds. Durant outperformed everyone in this series by a long shot. The Thunder finally advanced to the 2012 NBA Finals. They faced off against the hungry Miami Heat, who lost the previous season to the Mavs. The Heat just came off an iconic series against the Celtics, where the Heat narrowly got it done in 7 games. At surface level, this series looks unbalanced. It only went to 5 games and looks very bad on Kevin Durant. But looking back, Durant was the best player in the series, and it wasn't his fault for the Thunder losing. In fact, every game was extremely close, and Durant led everyone in points, averaging 30.6 per game. The problem for the Thunder was everyone other than Durant and Westbrook. Looking back, the Thunder seriously put together a horrible team around Durant and Russ. Harden got almost no playing time and was still the 3rd highest scorer on the team. Honestly, the Thunder had the best duo in the NBA outside of LeBron and Wade, and it's not even close. Westbrook averaged 27 points per game in the finals himself. You could argue Durant was the best player in the league at the time, at only 23 years old. Personally, I'd say LeBron takes the edge, but Durant was unbelievable in the playoffs. If you were to compare LeBron and Kevin Durant before Game 6 of the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals, Kevin Durant would have had a huge case against LeBron. At that point, LeBron hadn't won a championship yet since he choked against the Mavs, and the Heat was down to the Celtics 3-2. The reason why I would say KD wasn't quite the best player is because LeBron popped off in Game 6 and 7 of the conference finals. Other than that, KD has a huge case against LeBron. If you switch LeBron and KD on the opposite team, the result probably would have been the same. The Heat would win in 5 or 6 games. Since KD was only 23 years old at the time, this is unbelievable to think about nowadays. 2013 was supposed to be the year the Thunder got it done. They now had all of the experience and were ready to take the next leap as an all-time great team. The Thunder got 60 wins in the regular season and took the number 1 seed in the West. Kevin Durant averaged 28.1 points per game on 42% from 3 and 54% from the field, which is absurd. Westbrook took another leap in assists, and the roster was developing, but James Harden decided to leave. The Thunder didn't want to pay a luxury tax, so they lowballed Harden. This is the dumbest GM move of the entire decade. Harden would become the highest volume scorer in recent history. They got Steven Adams in the 2013 draft, but he wasn't on the squad until next season. So it was basically the Russ and KD show. It's astonishing that the Thunder attained 60 wins despite this. I can't imagine what the Thunder would have done with Harden. Guess what happened? The Thunder had to face Harden and the Rockets in the first round, and oh boy did Harden give them a hard time. Unfortunately, in Game 2 of the first round, Westbrook tore his meniscus. This was absolutely devastating to the Thunder, since the team was literally KD and Russ. Sure, they had Ibaka, but he wasn't a consistent scorer, just a good defender and rebounder. Harden averaged 26.3 points per game against the Thunder and really proved a point. But KD willed the team to get the job done in 6 games. KD averaged 32.5 points per game and went absolutely crazy. With literally no help, KD found a way to win. You know it's bad when Reggie Jackson is your second highest scorer. No disrespect to my man, he really didn't deserve that. In the second round, the Thunder had to face off against the Memphis Grizzlies. This was really just KD dominating, but still unable to win because of his surrounding cast. I don't care who you replace KD with, there is no way that the Thunder team was going to make it past the second round. In the first 3 games of the series, KD had the most points and rebounds out of both teams every game.
The clock at 5. Conley lost it, and knocked away. The shot clock is off. The Thunder will keep it on the floor with a chance to take the lead. Durant, the lead!
KD had 35 and 15 in Game 1 and somehow willed the Thunder to win. KD hit the game winner with 11 seconds left. The Grizzlies had 7 players that could produce offense, and the Thunder had 3. That's if you include Reggie Jackson. This just shows how unbelievable Kevin Durant was. Unfortunately, the Thunder lost the next 4, but KD put up a crazy effort. Originally, this was only going to be one video, but I don't want the video to become over 30 minutes, so I'm going to end it here. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so you know when part 2 comes out. This is Smitty, signing off.